What are we talking about when we talk about the new Ukraine? What does this mean?
Well, we're talking about a country which has become the epicenter of global change. And the country is changing, and it's changing the world. The European Union has a new life, a new sense of its being. NATO is enlarging. Energy policy, agriculture, ecology, everything is being affected by the war. The war consists of Russian aggression, but most importantly, it consists of Ukrainian resistance. And besides the political, economic, energy changes, I would say the most important thing at the beginning of the 21st century is that Ukraine is stimulating people, maybe forcing some people to reconsider what it means to be human. In a time of transactional kind of categories, when we can buy and sell almost everything, when there's your truth, my truth, we live in the eyes of many in a post-truth world, Ukrainians are saying not so fast, not so fast. There's good and there's absolute evil. There's truth and there are lies. And I am willing to risk my life for it. And that is changing Ukraine, and it's changing the world. Because people are returning to a language of values, to a language of principles. And they're discovering that solidarity, respect, mutual respect, and cooperation can be amazingly invigorating. I'm in Ukraine now for the 6th time since last February. And when I returned one time from Ukraine to New York, I suddenly realized that while I was in Ukraine, I saw no street people. I didn't see people on the curb or propping up buildings as you might throughout New York City. Despite the fact that there's almost 7 million IDPs, internally displaced people. There's been incredible solidarity. There are all kinds of weaknesses, but this country is changing and it's contributing to global change.
That's great. Just a quick follow-up. If there is a new Ukraine, does that mean, as a corollary, that there's also a new Ukrainian?
Yes, very much so. In fact, I would say because there's new Ukrainians, there's a new Ukraine. I think many of the seeds were sown decades ago. Some are centuries old. Some were latent in the culture, in the values, in the spirituality. But there come historical moments when factors come together and a particular reaction takes over. And nobody could predict it. Nobody could have really created it, and who knows how it will progress and develop. But I think we see that billions of people globally are inspired by what they see in Ukraine and what they see in Ukrainians.
Thank you. Any thoughts on the way that Ukrainians can learn something from the Israeli example, and what exactly, and what kinds of values and traits and spiritual characteristics that Israelis have shown would be usefully to emulate?
Well, I think the fact that after centuries of a diaspora, the global Jewish community was able to come together and create a state, create on the basis of ancient Hebrew, a modern Hebrew language, and defend this state against in an environment that constantly produces, if not war, then great tension, is something that Ukrainians can learn from. That is the big challenge right now. Whether it is the future of business or culture or social life, it all depends on this winning this war. And I've been in Ukraine now for the last 4 days, celebrating funerals or presiding at funerals, visiting soldiers in hospitals, speaking with internally displaced people, with traumatized family members. It is very difficult here. And Ukraine needs the global community support. It needs Israeli support. And there's influential people here that can increase the level of that. Because I think the future of democracy globally, at least in Europe, hangs on this war. If Ukraine prevails, if Russia and its leadership understands that its aggression was a losing option, a losing proposition, this will be a strong voice to all other autocrats and aggressors in the world. I think Ukraine's struggle has been a very important signal to China that it won't be so easy to attack Taiwan. I think the fact that Ukraine has stood up to a nuclear power is a nuclear deterrent, because most people thought that a nuclear power and its army would conquer Ukraine in a matter of days or weeks. And it shows that having nuclear weapons is not necessarily a guarantee of dominion. So right now, for humanitarian reasons, for stemming the flow of refugees, for stopping the genocidal different manifestations, it is crucial to help Ukraine win this war. And that message really needs to be articulated by all friends of Ukraine and all friends of freedom.
That is very heartening to hear. Very, very special. Thank you for saying that, Father.